and welcome to the premiere of the Value 360 series right here on our TV network. I am your host, Dr. Nkem. As some of you know, my daytime job is working as a healthcare business executive, and now my showtime job is being here with you on the Value 360 show, where I'll bring you information, ideas, and solutions that will help you sculpt your multidimensionality, both professionally and personally. This show will be airing every month, and sometimes we'll have special episodes in between. My introductory interview aired about 3 weeks ago with one of our very own, the incomparable Carolyn Howell, executive producer with RTV Network. If you missed it, please go to RTV Network/Dr. Nkem to access the recording and learn more about the purpose behind the host. As a refresher, my philosophy behind the Value 360 series is a belief that I alone cannot change the world, but I can cast a stone and create ripples by sharing my experiences, the experiences of others that I will be inviting to the show, and the dialogue that you, the audience, will be having as we engage on our social media handles. My goal is to cause ripples of value in your lives by providing a 360-degree perspective across different topics: health and wellness, entrepreneurship, cultural harmony, legacy, and Kaizen 101. So today, our first episode is a Black History Month special titled The Value of Black Health. In this episode of Value 360, we will be discussing why it is important to focus on Black health. To get us started, let me remind you of an old saying: health is wealth. So let me draw some inferred correlations between health and wealth by sharing some statistics on Black health and the economic state of Black America. First, with health. With the recent COVID-19 pandemic in the US, Blacks account for 14% of the total number of deaths and 12% of the total number of cases. While this percentage might sound small to you, it is significantly disproportionate when you think about it, that the Black population is only 12% of the US population. Other health indicators will paint a similar story. Life expectancy in Blacks is 75 years, compared to 79 years in whites and 82 in Hispanics and Latinos. 2, hypertension. This affects 57% of African Americans aged 20 and over. 3, diabetes. 24% of the African American population aged 20 and over have low glycemic control, which means poorly managed blood sugar levels. Now, some statistics on the economic state of Black America. Black workers make up about 13% of the US labor force market today, but only earn 10% of total US wages. Today, the median annual wage of the Black worker is about 30% lower than that of the white worker. According to a recent report by McKinsey, the estimate of annual disparity between Black wages today and what they would be if there were full parity is $220 billion. Yes, you heard that. Estimate of annual disparity is $220 billion. The economic state of the Black America is enormous in terms of implications. This means that household economic security, consumption, and the ability of you to build wealth is impacted. And this is also evidenced by the data on health insurance coverage, which shows about 15% of African American adults aged 18 to 64 do not have health insurance coverage, and about 5% of African American children under the age of 18. So what more can we learn and do about this? Here to discuss the underpinnings of the challenges with healthcare access and delivery in the Black community and the role of community health in Black communities is our special guest, Dr. Angela Marshall. Welcome, Dr. Marshall. So happy to have you here.
Hi, Dr. Nkem. Happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
Sure. So for those of you watching at home, I am honored to introduce to you my friend and senior colleague, Dr. Angela Marshall. Dr. Marshall is the founder of the Comprehensive Women's Health Incorporated. She This is her own practice and is a thriving primary care practice for women. And she has 2 locations in DC, Washington, DC metro area. Dr. Marshall is a board certified internist and a fellow of the American College of Physicians. She began her career as an electrical engineer. Yes, you heard that, an engineer, and in a degree from Georgia Tech. Although she enjoyed the field of engineering, she decided to combine her love for science and passion for helping people by pursuing a career in women's health. Throughout her medical career, Dr. Marshall has impacted the lives of thousands of women by promoting a style of medical practice that emphasizes patient centered empathic listening. Dr. Marshall has been repeatedly named top doctor of the Washingtonian magazine and a couple of awards as well. The 2020 Maryland Top Women Award, the 2015 Enterprising Women of the Year Award by Enterprising Women magazine, Smart CEO Magazine Bravo Award, and the Circle of Excellence Award. Dr. Marshall has appeared on several news programs such as CNN to talk about the COVID pandemic as a White House specialist. And she has also been on Fox News and PBS NewsHour as a health expert contributor. She's a staunch advocate for achieving health equity for medically vulnerable populations. And Dr. Marshall currently chairs the board of directors for the Black Women's Health Imperative, and I serve as the co-chair of her finance committee. With a track record of amazing accomplishments and contributions, I am so happy to have you here with us, Dr. Marshall, to discuss the value of Black health.
I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for putting on this important show.
Awesome. So we'll get right on with it and just ask you a couple of cute questions here to help lead the conversation. So Dr. Marshall, the state of Black health in this country is a mixed story. In some areas, there have been improvements, and in other areas, not so much. What are the key areas where you think we've made strides?
Well, Dr. Nkem, I'm glad you asked the question because I always like to start with good news first, right? And when I think about improvements in our health, I'm reminded of a study in 2017 that was published by the CDC, Dr. Tim Cunningham at the time, that found from 1999 to 2015, the death rate for African Americans actually declined by a whopping 25%. This was huge for our people, even though our life expectancy was still 4 years younger than our white counterparts. But again, this was a victory because we made a huge improvement. Now, the not so positive part of that same study showed that younger African Americans are more likely to die from diseases seen at older ages in white people. And this study illustrated that we're plagued with diseases like heart disease, stroke, diabetes at far younger ages, and also pointed to untreated hypertension. And so it's important to note that this is a preventative cause for congestive heart failure and chronic kidney disease, but it's also an actionable takeaway such that we can actually target this area and keep moving the needle in the right direction. And so again, although it wasn't as positive, but it actually is helpful because it gives us something to work on.
That is very insightful. Well, I know we're coming up up the minute to have a quick commercial break, but I'll go ahead and ask you this question and you can start and hold your thought if we need to take a quick break. So the next question that I'll have for you when you do come back, please let me know if you want to expand on what other areas do you think that we still need to do more work now that you have outlined a few wins. So hold that thought and we'll be right back after the commercial break. Thank you, Dr. Marshall. welcome back to the Value 360 show, where we are discussing the value of Black health with our special guest, Dr. Angela Marshall. So, on to our next question. So, you've mentioned key areas where you've seen improvements. Now, what do you think are key areas that we still need to do some work?
Well, Dr. Nkem, we have lots of work to do. Let me just start with
Mhm.
that. And the thing I'd like to point out first is less than 5% of US doctors are Black. That's number one. And many may ask, well, why does that matter? Well, it matters because studies have consistently shown that Black patients do better when they're cared for by Black doctors. So that's the first thing. We just need more Black doctors. As you mentioned, we represent 13% of the population and only 5% of the doctors. Secondly, our maternal mortality rates for African Americans are abysmal in this country. Black women are more than 3.5 times more likely to die just by giving birth than our white counterparts. And so that is a big area of concern. Also, our infant mortality is 3 times the rate of white people when infants are cared for non Black physicians. Again, we need more Black doctors. Then came COVID. And so we talked about some of the improvements that we're seeing amongst our community between 1999 and 2015. Our death rate had gone down by 25%. And then came COVID. The COVID 19 pandemic amplified and erased a lot of the progress that we had made in our community. And so, even though we represented a minority of the population, we had the same number of cases of COVID as other groups. But what was more concerning is that although we had the same number of cases, we actually almost had twice the number of deaths as other groups. Again, even though we represent a minority of the population.
I mean, these are facts. And, as you were talking about that, it just made me think more about what your thoughts would be around institutional or systematic solutions. For example, trying to increase the number of Black doctors in the United States. Where does it start more? So, is it an individual improvement here? Are we talking systemic? Is it something that you have any ideas of different initiatives out there that are helping promote this?
Well, first, I think it starts with our community. Um, there are several examples of low hanging fruit. Doing things like sleeping more, getting diet and exercise, and regular checkups, where we know our numbers and we control our chronic diseases. And so, as a people, we do tend to be on the more natural side of things, which is great, right? But sometimes we need traditional medicine to help control some of these chronic diseases because, as I mentioned before, we now know that things like hypertension and diabetes cause complications that tend to make us die sooner. And so, if we can work on forging relationships with our healthcare community to help us control some of these chronic diseases, I think that will have a really, really impactful result on our health outcomes.
I mean, I like the way you talk about what we can do as an individual, like here and now, because even if we want to increase the percentage of Black doctors in America, it's probably a long-term goal, right? So I like the emphasis on what can you do now until then. But Dr. Marshall, I know that you are doing a lot of work in the community, especially starting young, like high school, your engagements with high school students to sort of begin to put the bug in their ear and encourage them to ask more, know more about, the profession of medicine and begin to spark interest there. Can you share more about the work you've done trying to, promote this desire to become physicians or just be in the healthcare field among young people?
Yes. Thank you for asking that question because there's so much that we can do in this area. For one, I think we do need to invest in creating more Black doctors. And many people would say, well, how do we do that? Number one, we have to start with our children. We have to start encouraging our children to pursue careers in medicine. I have a friend who has a very smart young son, and I was trying to encourage the son to become a doctor. And the father said, well, I don't think that he would make it as a doctor. And so it's sometimes, we as parents, if we don't believe in our children or if we don't give them the right message that they can do anything they put their minds to, I think it's a non starter. And so, first and foremost, we have to start really emphasizing the importance of STEM fields, pursuing careers in medicine, over entertainment and sports. And so we have to prepare our kids to do that as well, meaning that we have to support them in their coursework. But more importantly, I think that we have to value becoming physicians in our community, and we have to have respect for the profession. Being a doctor is a great career. It's so rewarding financially, but more rewarding personally, just being able to help people. And so I think we need to get the message out there that being a physician is a great, great career to have. Now, I mentioned that Dr. Susan Moore, I don't know if you guys remember, she was a physician and classmate of mine. Unfortunately, she posted a video sort of chronicling poor treatment that she received in a hospital in Indiana. And unfortunately, Dr. Susan Moore passed away. And after she passed away, her video went viral. And so have to say, I was absolutely heartbroken when I saw her video plea asking for equal care. And so Dr. Moore was a friend of mine. We went to high school together. And so, in her honor, I, along with a couple of our classmates, founded a nonprofit. It's called Pre-Med Explorers. And anyone who wants more information can go to premedexplorers.org. But we're actually mentoring young high school students. And we started at our old high school where Susan attended, along with I and other classmates. And we just started mentoring students. And so, it's a small piece, but it's impactful for those people who may go on to become physicians. And so we're trying to make a difference one student at a time, but I think we all can make a collective difference when we join in on this initiative.
I mean, I think most people did follow that story, and it was really heartbreaking to see what happened to her, to Dr. Moore. Now, that it's common belief that Black people, in this country have been dismissed in healthcare. And you just sort of spoke about that a little bit. Does this also transcend into Black professionals in medicine as well, that they're often dismissed or treated differently?
Yes, I agree. And, I don't know where it comes from, but unfortunately, as a physician, I've heard too many stories about patients not feeling listened to. And although most of the times I hear stories from Black patients, I also hear stories from other patients who are obese or patients who have certain conditions like chronic pain or patients who have mental illness, all feeling dismissed by the healthcare community. And so, yes, it is a big problem. I don't know where it stems from. Some of it may be a lack of respect or a lack of value for certain individuals, but it is a huge problem.
Great. So we're coming up on the minute to take another commercial break. But when we do return, Dr. Marshall, I wanted you to share your medical journey to becoming a physician, and just any insights that you can share in order for us to really understand the challenges ahead as we encourage our children and young adults to go into this field of medicine. What should they have in mind? What should they think about to sort of have them prepared for it, right? So that they can stay the cause. So we'll take a quick commercial break right at the minute here. And when we return, we will listen to Dr. Marshall's insight on her journey to become the accomplished.
You know you are a hot one. We are lime, we are laugh, we are chat, we no chill, we are hot one. Temperature rise, beer vibes in ya, this a hot one. Link up, connect, bust a sweat when you're the on the hot one. We gonna spice it up like fire.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the launch of the new MTV Caribbean channel. What's the name? What's the name?
Let's go.
And that's why tempo is so so important and sort of on point, because there's a tempo to everything that we do in the Caribbean. You know what I'm saying? It's a heartbeat.
We have a whole channel, man. The Caribbean is so diverse.
And for them to recognize that and to launch a channel for that, that is totally amazing.
I started to think about all of that, and I was like, wow. I said, well, wait a minute. These are all the things that make great television.
Watch on Tempo YouTube.
Hey everybody, I'm Tracy Hamlin, and I'm so excited to share that I'm going to be coming your way every Monday night for an entire hour to spotlight some phenomenal unsigned artists from around the globe, as well as some amazing small businesses from my area that you need to know about. I'm also going to throw in a song or two. Yeah, something like that, a little something like that. Now, I'm going to need you guys to tell all your friends, your cousins, your aunties, your bosses, come on in here and join us. We're going to have so much fun. You don't want to miss this. I'll see you soon. Ooches of smooching. Are you ready? Tracy Hamlin Show. Tracy Hamlin Show.
Welcome back to the premiere of the Value 360 show here on our TV network. We are discussing today the value of Black health with our special guest, Dr. Angela Marshall. So Dr. Marshall, the question we had before we went on the commercial break was if you could share a little bit more about your journey to becoming a medical professional And what do you want young adults and children to know if they want to become physicians? What are the things they should look out for as being Black in America? The challenges that they should be expecting, unfortunately, to overcome, and what tips can you give them to stay the course?
Well, that's a great question, Dr. Nkem. And I often tell students that I mentor that the most difficult thing of becoming a physician is to believe that you can. That is the first and most difficult step. Because one thing that I know, and you probably can appreciate as well, is that med school is difficult, but obviously it's not impossible. I often joke with some of my students that for me, engineering at Georgia Tech was way more challenging than medical school. And so, again, we have to sort of demystify this concept of going to medical school and becoming a physician. It's not as hard as a lot of people think. It's hard, don't get me wrong, but again, it's not impossible. And so, first, I think we have to demystify it and we have to inspire our children to believe that they can. Now, the second piece is preparation. And I happen to not believe in the concept of luck. And I personally follow the principle that luck is simply being prepared for opportunity. And so I think when it comes to becoming a physician, preparation is the key. We cannot be more prepared. And so we have to do everything we can to make sure that we have good grades, we perform well on tests, we do extra work to make sure that we are well prepared. And again, I think believe that you can, prepare. And then where there are deficiencies or weaknesses, seek resources that will help you get to where you want to be.
I love the last part of seeking resources because you cannot go it alone. So it's good to know that that's something important that, any aspiring physician or medical professional should think about. And I can also share some insight being an immigrant physician to the United States, as there are many of us who do also belong to the Black physician group, and we're not trained here, but you still have to become part of the American fabric in the medical field. And also, I think the key thing anyone would tell you right away is resources. How do you get plugged in? How do you have the access to the different preparatory lessons and different materials or programs that can help you pass your steps, your assembly steps, and things like that, and keep you going, in terms of trying to blend into the culture and things like that. So
Yes.
that part speaks to me a lot.
Yeah, and it's so important to find mentors and find people who've done it before because that can be such a valuable resource. If you were to go climb Mount Everest, chances are you wouldn't just go do it without any outside resources, right? You would go talk to people who had done it before. And so when it comes to going to medical school or becoming a doctor or becoming anything, becoming an astronaut or whatever people choose to do, it's really important to find people who've already done it who can help you get to where you're trying to be.
Exactly. So the other offshoot of this question here is knowing that there's this, growing concern of physician burnout in the United States. Can you share more about what impact this also has on Black professionals? Is this something that there's another layer, I guess, of challenge that they have to, be considerate about, and just any insight you want to share about that?
Yeah, well, there are many reasons for burnout, both corporate burnout, physician burnout. One of them is the microaggressions that we encounter on an almost daily basis. That is enough to, create a chronic source of stress for us that is a layer of stress that other people may not have to deal with like we do. And so I think that can be really um, detrimental to our careers and to our work product or the quality of work that we perform. Number one. Number two, I think, as you mentioned in the introduction, unequal pay for equal work creates financial strain for us. It is absolutely unacceptable that sometimes Black doctors make less money than our white counterparts for the same work. And so the same goes for corporate America. The fact that you have Black women and Black men making less money for the same work is absolutely unacceptable. And it leads to another source of stress for us. And so that is something that we have to work actively on to achieve pay equity. And I think that is one area that will really help to, just help us to be more fulfilled in these careers that we choose.
Awesome. So we've talked about a couple of things here, and I'm just trying to build the momentum up to a take action, which is the way we would like to always end the shows here on Value 360. So we've talked about it. We've spoken about advancements that you, at least from your perspective, that you've seen. You spoke about how that was pretty much impacted by COVID. We've talked about things that you think we can improve on, and then the foundation of making sure that we have more Black representation in the field of healthcare and medicine, and how we can get to work in terms of growing or building that, bringing awareness also to how much more that the Black physician or Black healthcare professional needs to keep in mind or work on to be made whole in terms of being burned out and all the microaggressions that add to that as well. So to kind of sort of summarize things, we would like to know what the next steps should be, both from an individual perspective as just being Black and American, how can I contribute to improving my health, knowing the value of it, as well as, collectively as a community. So can you touch on a few things that individuals can do? I know you did mention regular exercise and things like that. So if you want to expand on that a little bit, what should individuals, take from this show in terms of what they can do to improve their health?
Well, again, I think there's low-hanging fruit that we all can do. Sleep, diet, exercise. Those are three things that are natural that we can do to help improve our health. And it sounds basic, but you'd be surprised at how many people don't get enough sleep. When I was a kid, there was nothing competing with my sleep. Everything went off at 10, 11 o'clock at night. There was nothing to do. And so now we've got all these things that compete for our attention at night. And so we have to be that much more intentional about getting enough sleep. Diet and exercise are so incredibly important. I cannot tell you how many patients that I have that are physically fit that continue to have normal blood work every year after year after year, normal cholesterol, no diabetes. These things really do make a difference. But all that said, all the natural activity in optimizing sleep, exercise, and diet, keeping a normal weight, although those things are a great percentage of the equation for good health, they're not 100%. And so also knowing that as Black people, just because I do all those things right, it still doesn't mean that I don't need to go to the doctor and I don't need to know my numbers. And so that's the part that I would really like to emphasize. It's something that we have to do more in our community. I know that we've been dismissed from a lot of physicians and from healthcare workers, but we have to find people that we trust, and we have to find a way to also check our blood pressure, check our kidney function, and know that we don't have diabetes. And if we do, work on those things.
Thank you, Dr. Marshall. We will be right back after this quick commercial break.
Time. It has a different meaning in the U.S. Virgin Islands. It goes backwards, forwards, it stops. St. Croix is rooted in history. So much of it still remains untouched.
I remember running on these streets as a kid. This shop was right down there. It opened the same year I was born. This is where the original Crucian hook was born. It's the symbol of these islands. And I wanted to have my hands in that very same history. I want to be able to pass it down to my family while still putting a new spin on it.
The U.S. Virgin Islands, we have an amazing culture that developed over time from all over the world.
St. John feels so untouched. Being underwater is like another world. There's no worries, there's no stress. I can just escape. This is my happy place. My passion for scuba diving came at just being fascinated with the water and wanting to be a mermaid. And this is the closest thing I can get to achieving mermaid status. Canadians just love being outdoorsy. We live for adventure, so we love anything hiking, being on the water, diving, snorkeling, and St. John has it all.
It's like some spirit is protecting the island and keeping them raw. The Makujumbi watches over the island. From up there, they keep the evil spirits away. The nightlife in St. Thomas is absolutely amazing. There's always something going on. Everyone comes together to dance and catch a vibe. We're always celebrating. We celebrate freedom, culture, the food, the smell, the music. It's always a celebration. The people here are probably the most priceless thing because they keep the culture going. There's so many different influences on these islands. Food from all kind of countries coming together in new dishes. All of us came from somewhere, but all of we call this home. The VI is a new melting pot. This is where the past and the future comes together.
Style takes too long. I can't fit anything. I have nothing in this closet. Oh, I'll just stay home. I need to purge my closet. Oh, but not that dress. Yo, Taylor here. If you ever thought to say one of these phrases, then this show is for you. Join me at the Style Table where we'll have candid and fun conversations about real women's style issues and wardrobe dilemmas. We will discuss solutions and ideas that will give you a big sigh of relief. You'll learn ways to save money, make money, and enrich the lives of others with the clothes in your closet. We're going to take the stress out of your style.
I'm setting an example for my kids.
I got me a side hustle.
I have more control of my destiny.
I need multiple streams of income.
It's hard work, but I'm working for me.
A job is cool, but I need more.
It's all about being self-employed. You're tuned into the world of Self-Employed and Rising with Art Taylor, where we bring you the amazing stories of people who are challenging the odds and following their dreams of self-employment. Learn from their successes and be inspired. Hear creative ideas for your business and find tips to take your hustle to another level.
360 show, and we are discussing the value of Black health with our special guest, Dr. Angela Marshall. So, Dr. Marshall, before we went on break, you shared key things that you thought individuals should think about and do to improve their health. Now, what are some of the key things that the Black community can do to improve their health?
Well, I think one thing that was sort of emphasized with the COVID-19 pandemic is that we have to get access to good information. And so medical misinformation is really powerful and can be very detrimental. And so one thing we can do as a community is make sure that we are spreading good information and also checking sources of information. I always tell patients, don't just listen to me, go to CDC, go to other sites to confirm what I'm telling you. And so I think as Black people, we have to be very careful about who we listen to when it comes to medical advice, medical information. I remember when COVID first started, there was this thing going viral that Black people couldn't get COVID. And I'm not sure if this contributed to our really high death rate, but I know it was detrimental to our health. And then there were other claims that, you could cure COVID with, these ridiculous things. So as a people, even though we love nature, we have to make sure that we don't just, believe everything people tell us, particularly when people are offering natural approaches to things that have been evidence, things that we have evidence for, and things that have been researched and scientifically shown to be helpful to us.
I mean, Dr. Marshall, you have shared a lot of information today, and I know viewers will want to connect with you and learn more, if not become your patient. So can you share with the audience a best way that they can reach you?
Yes, so I'm on social media, all the platforms at Angela W. Marshall, at Angela W. Marshall.
Great. So we typically end the show by summarizing key value riplets. And as I go through that, I'll just tag with Angela on this. So first, we discussed this. You remember that your health is your wealth. So improving the health of Black America improves the economic state of Black America and vice versa. Next, it's also important that you do your part. You heard it, get enough sleep or decent hours of sleep, maintain a healthy eating habit, exercise regularly or be in the habit of purposeful movement, go for regular checkups with your primary care doc and your care team. And we're also dealing with COVID-19 still. So please remember your safe practices and get vaccinated. And also, as a person of color, remember you too can overcome. Whether you want to, surgery into the medical field or healthcare field or any other field, you can, as long as you adjust your mindset to always believe that you are more than enough. For example, I'm new to hosting a show, and while I may not be perfect yet, my mindset is go for it. As long as you're focused on bringing value and doing the right thing, you can achieve and accomplish anything. For those of us who have been fortunate to accomplish a thing or two, be sure to pay it forward. Help others accomplish a thing or two as well. So if you want to learn more, just like Dr. Angela Marshall shared with you, typically you should follow people you trust to give you the right information. Follow them on their social media handles. If you get more close and personal, they have other ways that you can engage and communicate with them. Here on this show, you can always go to RTV Network /Dr. Nkem to connect with me, or connect with me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, and other social media handles. You can check out the links on nkemmd.com. That's nkemmd.com, where I'll continue to post more value riplets until our next show. So hope you'll use these value riplets to continue sculpting your multidimensionality and start doing what's necessary so you can eventually do what's impossible. So Dr. Angela Marshall, do you have any last, words for our audience?
Other than to keep striving.
I love it. Well, until we meet again, I want to thank you for watching, and I want you to stay valued. Just remember, the Value 360 show was developed and created to provide value to viewers, to folks who think that they want to improve who they are, be better at what they do, think outside the box to do things that they never thought possible. So we will keep thinking about ways to have you embrace your multidimensionality. And the only key way we can do that is bringing people from different industries, different industries, and who have different perspectives or 360 perspectives of what they do in life in general. And this way you can tap into it. We can encourage and build a family of people who just bring value to each other. So hopefully you will keep watching this space, and you'll keep joining us in our monthly series of Value 360. So thank you so much for watching, and stay valued.